Salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا السماء انفطرت وإذا الكواكب انتثرت وإذا البحار فجرت وإذا القبور بعثرت علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك كلا بل تكذبون بالدين وإن عليكم لحافظين كراما كاتبين يعلمون ما تفعلون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم وإن الفجار لفي جحيم يصلونها يوم الدين وما هم عنها بغائبين وما أدراك ما يوم الدين ثم ما أدراك ما يوم الدين يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, that was Sister Masuma Hassan. Now I would like to invite Brother Muhammad Ibrahim for a salam. Please recite a loud salawat.
Salawat. Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? Zahra, let me recite in your honor this tragedy leaves our hearts filled with agony. Who knew that the family of Ali would return to Medina empty? Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? Zahra, let me recite in your honor. You believed in his grandfather, proclaiming, come and lead us, O Master. You believed in his grandfather, proclaiming, come and lead us, O Master. Yet who knew that Hussein would be denied even water? Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? This tragedy leaves our hearts filled with agony. His back is so broken, the light from his eyes weaken. His back is so broken, the light from his eyes weaken. He calls out your name, yet you still don't awaken. Oh Akbar, don't worry, your Father will carry your body. Zahra, Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? Zahra, oh Zahra, Ali Akbar pierced with a spear. He was a brave flag bearer, Abbas the loyal brother. He was a brave flag bearer, Abbas the loyal brother. He set up towards the river, and his enemies would cower. Yet how can lips even utter how you follow Zainab's protector? Zahra, Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? Zahra, oh Zahra, Abbas's arms were severed. Qasim rode out to battle. His father Hassan he would resemble. Qasim rode out to battle. His father Hassan he would resemble. Our hearts at this thought tremble. By horses his body was trampled. Zahra, Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? Zahra, oh Zahra, Qasim was brutally slaughtered. Who knew that the family of Bani would return to Medina empty? Zahra, Zahra, what's happened in Karbala? This tragedy leaves our hearts filled with agony.
MashaAllah, that was Brother Muhammad. He always comes up with beautiful salams. Please recite a salawat for his strength. salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Up next, I would like to invite Brother Ali Abbas to come to the stage and recite salam. Please recite a louder salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. O daughter of Ali, please recite with us. Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. Oh, Our Lady Zainab, we offer unto you our condolences on your 72.
O Our Lady Zainab, we offer unto you our condolences on your 72.
Oh no, Muhammad, Qasim Akbar, Ghazi Asghar, and your brother Hussein. Everyone. Oh daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib,
Sharikat al-Hussein.
I am in shackles, they took my chadar, and on a spear is raised your head, O brother.
I am in shackles, they took my chadar, and on a spear is raised your head, O brother.
But faith is in my heart, Zainab will do her part to spread the message of Shahadatul Hussein. O daughter of Ali, everyone, Ali and Fatima,
Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein.
the sermons that you gave, O daughter of Ali, in Kufa and Dimishq, defeated tyranny.
The sermons that you gave, O daughter of Ali, in Kufa and Dimishq, defeated tyranny.
Oh, little did they know the cursed Ashqiya. You took the Dhulfiqar بعد قتل Hussein. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib,
reflect, how well did you protect the true image of your Nana Rasulullah.
صادق عادل عالم عاقل صابر شاكر مثل Hassan Hussein, O daughter of Ali. Everyone, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib,
Sharikat al-Hussein.
Oh, Lady Zainab, the standards that you set for patience and for grace, we shall never forget.
O Our Lady Zainab, the standards that you set for patience and for grace, we shall never forget.
For we are the Shia, the fruit of your dua, who will forever say, Labbaika ya Hussein, Labbaika ya Hussein. Everyone, Labbaika ya Hussein. O daughter of Ali, Ali and Fatima, Ummul Masaib, Sharikat al-Hussein. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, there was Brother Ali Abbas and his son Al. Please recite aloud salawat for their ranks. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, we are having a series of 4 lectures regarding the Arabeen of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The topic that is being discussed is spiritual, historical and ethical dimensions of ziyarah. We are fortunate to have Shaykh Reza Hemyari with us to discuss the topic. Before I invite him to the member, I would like to make a couple of announcements. These lectures, as I said, will go through Sunday night, inshallah, and it starts immediately after Maghrib. The English Majalis will be here in this hall, and Urdu Majalis will be in the adjacent hall. As we requested yesterday, our hallway outside is very tight, so we request everyone to stay inside unless they have to go to the bathroom or they have to leave after the Majlis. And the last announcement is we are participating more attendance, inshallah, tonight and going forward. So I request everyone, especially ladies are sitting in the back, so I request the brothers to come forward a couple of steps so that we have some space in the back for more mu'mineen to come join us. Please recite the salawat while we go forward. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I would like to invite Shaykh Reza Hemyari to please come to the member and provide the speech for tonight. Please recite a louder salawat.
On Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For your own marhumin and the marhumin of the rest of the community, please recite a Surah Al-Fatiha masbughatan bis-salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وحجته على الخلق أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد. Dear ulama, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I begin, as they mentioned, we might be expecting more people, so maybe, I promise I won't bite tonight, inshallah. If you can have some of the brothers come to the other, towards the center, with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Last night we began this series of lectures on ziyarat and mentioned that ziyarat is a journey just like many of the other journeys that the Quran mentions. Allah, He talks about in the Quran as we journey through the lands, through His creation, and as well as we journey towards Iman and Islam. We enter into the realm and the ummah of the Prophet of Islam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. So we said that ziyarat is like the other journeys that the Quran talks about, sayr and hijrah, but the journey is particular because we are journeying now not in the footsteps of the Anbiya, the prophets and the messengers of God, but we are going and journeying towards an individual, one of the A'imma, one of the awliya. And in fact, we have ziyarat for the various awliya and A'imma. Inshallah, we can talk more about that in the upcoming nights, how we are supposed to do ziyarat not of particular Ahlul Bayt, but of all of the A'imma. And in fact, as well, to do ziyarat of even the awliya, the children of the Ahlul Bayt, and those mu'mineen who are within our community, who have passed, and even when they are still alive. So ziyarat is all encompassing. It is a journey towards an individual for the sake of Allah. And I began last night by asking a question. There are ahadith that talk about ziyarat. Some ahadith talk about the blessing and the reward that a za'ir gets. And then there are some ahadith that are a little bit more difficult to understand. Inshallah, tonight, I would like to begin by recounting one of these ahadith. Again, this is a hadith wherein Allah, or rather the Ahlul Bayt, they describe the relationship that this ziyarat has with the external creation of God. I said last night that when we are talking about ziyarat, or when we are thinking about our religion, we're not just looking for ethical or moral guidelines. It's not just a matter of practical steps that we can take, but in fact, our religion calls us, and we should look in our religion for something greater, for that unseen that Allah has mentioned and described the muttaqeen with. They believe in the unseen. One of those ahadith I'd like to begin with, when we think about ziyarat, is from our seventh Imam, Imam Musa Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Wherein the Imam says, "Man zara al-Husayn arifan bihaqqihi ghafarallahu lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi wa ma ta'akhkhar." That a person who goes and visits, does that journey, is a pilgrim towards Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, and a person who knows the right and the status of Imam al-Husayn, Allah will forgive of him and for him all of his sins, both that which came from before and that which he will do in the future. Ma taqaddama min dhanbihi wa ma ta'akhkhar. So this is one of the keystones in the ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt. They talk about the effect that this journeying towards Imam al-Husayn has, but with the right conditions. Arifan bihaqqihi. And this is what we are trying to understand. What does it mean to be arifan bihaqqihi? One of those other ahadith, and then this is, inshallah, the hadith that I'd like to spend tonight thinking about. What role does this hadith have in our lives? What role and function could it play in my life as I am living a life of Iman, and as I am taking those steps towards the ziyarat of Imam al-Husayn? The next time Allah gives me the honor and the privilege, I should think about some of these ahadith. This is a hadith of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. In which the Imam says, لَيْسَ مِن مَلَكٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ يَسْأَلُونَ اللَّهَ أَنْ يَأْذَنَ لَهُمْ فِي زِيَارَةِ قَبْرِ الْحُسَيْنِ فَفَوْجٌ يَنْزِلُ وَفَوْجٌ يَعْرُجُ. The Imam says, there is not a single angel in the heavens of God, in all of the skies, except that they ask Allah to give them permission to do ziyarat of the grave of Al-Husayn alayhi salam. And so there are many who come and they descend. And then there are many who have completed their pilgrimage towards Imam al-Husayn, and then they ascend back up towards the heavens. And then other ahadith describe that there are angels of God that at night they ask Allah for that permission, and then they descend towards the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, and they complete their ziyarat throughout their night, and then they ascend back up. And then there are other sets of angels that come during the day. They complete their journey and then they go back up. And then this process continues until the end of time. How do we deal with these ahadith? As we know and as we read the Quran, we understand the angels are the beings that enact the decree and the commandments of Allah throughout His entire creation. Not just the material world and the physical world that we see, but as well the heavens and the skies above, the things that we cannot see and we cannot have access to. And so there are angels that carry the rain, and then there are angels that carry the sun, and all of the angels of God, they all have a specific function. There are some who stand in worship of Allah, but many of them are connected to this world. The reason I mention this is because there are other ahadith that say that وَبَكَتْ لأبا عبد الله الحسين ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. There are beings, all of the things that we see around us, بكت ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهن, and everything in between as well, cries and weeps and laments for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Have you ever seen any of these beings cry? I haven't. And there are reports, some people go and try to look in history. Yes, you can find maybe a report where there was a rain of blood on a specific time in history. And so we try to look up historical reports and say, okay, well, this might have been on the day of Ashura. And so we try to use that physical phenomenon as a sign and as a proof for ourselves. But then sometimes we come up short. We get as we have also a hadith, we get the soil of Karbala, and on the day of Ashura, we look at the soil and nothing changes, nothing happens. And then we get these WhatsApp messages or these messages from social media that one person in one place, they saw this change happen. And then we forward the videos. Some people can see it and other people can't. So what do we do with these ahadith? Again, the idea and the question is, when we are looking at these ahadith, we are also thinking about what are the things that we are asking and we are looking for our religion to answer. Our religion does not just answer how to behave with my son or with my daughter, how to behave with my mother or my father. Our religion is not simply a matter of success, that I should work hard and I should strive to be the best employee that my company has ever seen. That is an important part of our religion. And muttaqeen are described as people who are like lions during the day, but who weep profusely for their love of God at night. And so every mu'min, every muttaqi has to be the hardest working individual in his company or in his community. You should be connected to your community. You should be connected to your families. You should be hardworking and all of these other ethical principles. But what we are looking for, more importantly in our religion, because those ethical principles other people have and other people can understand on their own. What we are looking for in religion is also, and more importantly, how we fit in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. And that is our ultimate goal. What is this life that I am living, and how is this life and my relationship with all of the beings of Allah, the outward creation and the internal, the human world and the rest of God's creation, the animal world and the world of the trees and the earth. Where is my place in this entire creation of Allah? And in fact, this is one of the things that the mushrikeen and the enemies of the prophets, they would deny. Many of the mushrikeen, when they are faced, and not just the mushrikeen, but those who denied the message of the prophets, they would deny this relationship between this created world, this material world, this physical world that we are all partaking in, and the moral and the spiritual world. That was their way of denying the message of the prophets. There are some ayat of the Quran wherein Allah describes the conversation that the disbelievers have with the prophets of Allah. They say, you are like us, and we live normal lives, we live physical and material lives, we live lives of comfort, and because you are like us, you are a human being like us, and we see evil in my heart, I see evil in my heart, and I commit all of these evils, then you as well should be committing those evils as well. And so they cut off the moral world from the physical world, the world that they live in from the spiritual world. That ethics and morals have nothing to do with the lives that we live. I want to give just one example. In Surah Al-Baqarah, I mentioned these first few verses of Surah Al-Baqarah yesterday, that Allah, He describes the muttaqeen. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Those who believe in, the muttaqeen are described as those who believe in the ghaib, the unseen, and they establish prayer, and they give from that which Allah has bestowed upon them. And then Allah continues to describe the muttaqeen. And then Allah begins to describe the mushrikeen. So we're thinking about what are the different types of human beings. There are the muttaqeen, those who read the Quran and are guided by the Quran. Then there are the mushrikeen, those who reject outright the message of the prophets. And then there are the people in between, the munafiqeen. If you would bear with me, I'd like to just read some of these verses. Allah says that when they hear the verses of God, now these are the people in between, the hypocrites. On the surface, they accept. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. When they are told, on the one hand, on the surface, when you speak to them, when they are amongst the believers, they present themselves as believers. But when they seclude themselves with their idols and with their devils and their demons, they say that we are truly always and have always been loyal to you. In other words, they present something on the outside, and then in their hearts they present and they have something else. Now when it is told to these people, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, they say, when they are told, don't commit corruption and cause corruption in the land, they say, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. We are indeed people who do good, and we restore the order of society. And their argument, according to some tafasir, is this, that on the social level, the level of society in Medina, in other words, if we were to present the fact that we do not believe, think about all of the chaos that would occur. We don't believe in your tradition and in your revelation, so what we can do is at least we can put on a good show. In other words, they are saying, the social rules of my community and my society, they do not depend and they are separate from the moral and spiritual rules that you are calling us to. The spiritual and the moral rules of the prophets, the revelation that the prophet brings, has no effect on the way that we live and the way that we should live. The way that we should live is by having good relations and by keeping a good face. In other words, morality, revelation, the soul, these are all frivolous. These are all superficial. These are all in addition to the lives that we live. And so these people, these hypocrites, they may have lived a good life in the city of Medina. And they may have actually been prosperous and materially comfortable. And it is, as we read the rest of the ayat, Allah says that these people think they are doing good, and Allah will in fact show them part of His light. But then they are blinded by that light to such an extent that it is almost as though their eyes are taken away from them. Their sight is taken away from them. Summun bukmun umyun fahum la yafqahun. They cannot hear, they cannot see, because they believe that the rules that they live based upon are different from the rules of God Himself. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And this is the same story that we hear in other ayat of the Quran. That we think the spiritual and the higher realms of God do not have a role in our lives. And in fact, the processes that God has set in place in His creation are the only things that we should base our lives upon. In another set of ayat of the Quran, Allah describes the way that the mushrikeen and the people who are being tortured on the Day of Judgment. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. How they will react and they will interact with those who are gaining and they are enjoying the blessings of Allah in the heavens. There are some who are in the heavens, they are in the paradise of Allah, and then they look on to these people who are being tortured in the hellfire of Allah. And then Allah says that these are people in the hellfire and in the torment of God. الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا دِينَهُمْ لَهْوًا وَلَعِبًا. Some people translate this as they take their religion as a game and as being frivolous. Another way to translate this is to say that they take as their religion frivolity and play. They think that their entire lives are just the interactions and the relationships and the lives, the material lives that they live in this world. And they think that they are separate from the rest of God's creation. And they live these lives, and Allah allows them to live these lives until a point comes when they are blinded to the revelation that God sends to them. I want to give just one example, one very beautiful and very difficult story, just to kind of elaborate on this point. And this also takes us now to the relationship that our actions have in the rest of God's creation. Think about what point a human being can reach, that he is blinded by the signs of God. As I mentioned, many of the people who came before us, the people of the prophets, they would see the signs of God. But because they believed that their lives were just the lives that they live, and their actions do not have any effect, their actions are just good for this world. And insofar as they can get their comfort and their prosperity in this world, then they have lived a good life. They're not thinking about a future. And so signs would come from the creation of God, and people would reject or they would turn a blind eye to those signs. One of those examples that we have in ahadith is about the minbar, the pulpit of Rasulullah himself. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It is said, and we have in ahadith, that the pulpit of Rasulullah itself was a blessed and sacred pulpit. And the believers and the Muslims, they would honor the pulpit of Rasulullah. In fact, there are ahadith that point to different places in the Masjid of the Prophet, and they would say that this part of the Masjid of the Prophet is a garden from the gardens of heaven. And this other part is where, for example, the angels would descend. And this other part has this blessing, and this other part has this other barakah. One of the parts of the masjid of the Prophet was the pulpit that the Prophet would sit on, and he would give his khutab. He would give his orations and his speeches. And it is said, according to the hadith of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, that on the 41st year after the Hijrah, now this was a moment in time in which Muawiyah was considered to be the Khalifatul Muslimin, Khalifatullah, and the successor to the Prophet. He was called the Amirul Mu'mineen. He was in full control over the Muslim Ummah. And it is said that when Muawiyah one day, he wanted to go towards Hajj, and he sends out a delegation, a letter to the people of Medina, and he tells them that you have to destroy the pulpit of the Prophet. Yes, there might be some barakat that you people talk about, but you have to destroy that pulpit, and you have to recreate it in the image of my pulpit in Damascus, in Damascus. This one hadith, it says that the people of Medina, they get this letter, and as they are about to go and do their task, it is said that all of a sudden an eclipse comes and it covers over the sun. And then an earthquake comes and it shakes the city of Medina. And all of these people in the city, they are all scared. And they hold off and they don't do a thing. Muawiyah hears about this. And he tells the people, why have you not fulfilled my command? Why have you not completed the task that I have given you? And it is said that the people say, well, all of these things have happened. All of these signs of God's creation have come. And we are afraid that, God forbid, Allah will send that adab upon us. And then Muawiyah, he turns around and he says, commit this command, whatever may come. And it is said that those people of Medina, they fulfill the command of Muawiyah. And nothing happens. All of those signs they had, and then after those signs occur, the pulpit is completed, and then no other signs come. The masjid is not destroyed, and the pulpit remained until Muawiyah came and did his Hajj and he went back. What do we make of this? Do we say that Allah maybe changed his mind? Or maybe that those signs were misinterpreted by those people? What we say is, Allah sometimes will send His signs in the creation that He has created. And just because Allah does not fulfill the adab, the punishment, immediately, that does not mean the moral and the spiritual creation of Allah, the moral and the spiritual realm that God has created, is any farther away from this physical world. And so those people, they knew what was right and they knew what was wrong, and yet they still committed the evil act that they did. They followed the command of Muawiyah. Now this might be a small example, but the idea is still clear. We should not always expect an immediate punishment from God, but we should also not be fooled and not fool ourselves that Allah will send His punishment in one way or another. Because Allah has said, and He talks about this throughout the Quran, that the physical world, the created world, is connected to the spiritual world. Whether we see it or we don't. Whether we are blinded by our own actions or we are not. Whether we can see those effects or we can't. And the reason for this is something that we forget about, in particular in our day and age, and throughout all of humankind, throughout all of human history. That idea is that there is a purpose for the creation of God. I mentioned that people think that their lives are lives of play and are games that they can live and they can spend for acquiring some wealth and acquiring some status, and that is the end of the story. But Allah says, I have created you for a higher purpose, and I have created the rest of this world for that same purpose, and that is for you to come back towards me. And so if you spend your life, and if you think your life is a life of play and a life of games, then I am going to leave you and I'm going to blind you from the higher purpose that I have created this world for. And that purpose is Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And if I spend any portion of my life not thinking about that ultimate goal, then I have spent my life in play. The second point is that sometimes, and in particular in our day and age, we spend too much time thinking about the physical and the material processes, the mechanical ways that things come to be. So if, for example, I don't quite understand how is it that on the one hand Imam Al Hussein is killed, and then on the other hand, when they picked up a stone, for example, that blood was gushing forth from underneath that stone. Or when they look at the soil of the ground of Karbala, then that soil was going to turn red. Or that the heavens and the earth cried for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Because I don't understand the mechanics of how that works, then I will deny the reality that hadith is talking about. The reality that the actions that I commit, the life that I live, it is either taking me towards the purpose of my creation and the creation of this world, or it is taking me away from that purpose. Because I don't understand the mechanisms, the mechanics, I deny the reality. And there are a lot of times where Allah withholds those mechanics and those processes from me, and I don't quite make sense of it. And so, I deny it. But then there are times in human history that Allah uncovers and unveils from our own eyes, and we can understand what those mechanics are. In our day and age, we see very up close and personal the effects. And not just the effects, but the mechanics and the mechanisms and the processes that take us from the evil in our hearts to the destruction of the external world. And so we see that destruction in the physical world, in the environment. Every single year, our summers get hotter. And when we go to certain places in the world, the summers become unbearable. There are fires that are that are engulfing certain states, and we hear about them every once in a while. And then there are people who are migrating because they cannot sustain themselves or their families from their own lands. Lands become depreciated, resources are taken away, and the earth itself is up in flames. And nowadays, our science tells us what those mechanics are. But those mechanics are simply describing the way that our evil has an effect on the created world. It only tells us the process. It does not tell us the purpose. And so sometimes people try to resolve their evil and their corruption by trying to figure out, well, what type of technology we can use to stop that process. Maybe we can shoot out into the sky certain reflective particles, and then we don't really think about the effects of that. Or we can think about, well, here I can fix this, and I don't really think about the effect that that might have. I think about individual things, and I don't think about the source of that destruction, the source of that corruption, which is my own hubris and my own pride and my own greed that has caused the problem in the first place. And then we think about the events of Gaza. If there was a time in our own lifetimes that we would expect the earth to cry blood and for the earth to rise up against humankind, it is the events and the occurrences in Gaza. If a person is following the news and they are paying attention, recently the news cycle has moved on to supposedly more important things. And so we don't hear about the thousands and thousands of children and women and men who are killed throughout these months. Just recently there was a report from a very prominent journal of medicine. We say 40,000 people were killed. And there are many thousands of people who are under the rubble that we have not accounted for. And this journal was counting that there are 3 times as many people who are going to be killed, not by bombs and not by bullets, that are targeted at children, and these children are killed on purpose. It's not by the bombs and the bullets, but by the diseases that come to any single war and any single battlefield that you might think of. And so 3 times as many people are killed by those diseases, by polio and all of the other diseases that come, by the fact that the infrastructure of Gaza has been destroyed, and so people do not have access to water, people do not have access to food, people do not have access to even the least amount of resources that we take for granted in this society. And so if we think about, if there was one moment in my life that the earth and the heavens should cry blood, this becomes very explicit in my eyes. If I have not blinded myself and turned my attention towards something else. And so on the one hand, Allah displays for us in the external world the effects of my actions, but then internally as well, I have a sense that now is the moment that Allah's punishment will rain down upon humankind. And I might not see it immediately. I might not expect it today or tomorrow. But because of the injustice that is happening to a people, I should expect it, whether it is tomorrow or the next day. And I have a responsibility in the face of that destruction. Because yes, the heavens will shed their tears of blood. And the entire earth of Gaza and of many of those places that have been occupied have been destroyed. Water does not flow. The land does not give the fruits and the vegetation that it should. We turn towards the events of Karbala. There are times and there are moments in human history that human beings wreak havoc and create chaos and evil in their societies. And so Allah withholds His barakah and His mercy and His blessings from those societies. And we might even expect this in our society, a society that aids and abets the destruction of other Muslims. We should expect this as well, lest we do something. But then there are others who do good, who are good, embodied and manifested in their lives. They are the true and the virtuous. That Allah now says, because of those individuals, I will expand my blessings on the creation. And so Allah says to His Prophet, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. That there are people in this creation like you, O Prophet, that Allah will withhold His punishment from His creation because you are amongst them. And He will withhold His punishment so long as they ask for forgiveness from their own sins. And there are other ahadith that say that on the day of Ashura, that the heavens and the earth, they cried for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein just as they cried when Yahya, the Prophet of Allah, was killed and his head was severed, just like Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And so the earth mourns, and the skies and all of the animals mourn. And the principle that we think about when we do ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is that we are orienting ourselves with the very creation of God. When we turn towards Abu Abdullah, when we go and we do ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, we are walking in the footsteps of the angels of God. And when we cry for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, we are fulfilling that purpose and that reason for our own creation. And so we align ourselves and we orient ourselves with the rest of God's creation. And so we also have mercy and compassion towards that creation. These are the days, as I mentioned last night, that the caravan of Imam al-Hussein was not journeying towards Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, but they were journeying away from the Imam. They were journeying away from Karbala. And they were being taken from one land to another. It is said in the Masa'ib that when Lady Zainab entered into that land of Karbala, each and every one of the men of the caravan, they would come and show their help and their assistance towards Lady Zainab. When she wanted to get off of her camel or her horse, it is said that Abbas was there to help her down. And then when she wanted to go and help some of the children, that there was Aoun and there was Muhammad to assist her. And when she wanted to go and set the tent, then there were all of the young men of the caravan and of the haram of Imam al-Hussein. But when Lady Zainab wants to leave from Karbala, there is no one there to hold her hand. There is no one there to help her on top of the horse. There is no one there to help with caring for these little children that are being scattered in the desert. And Lady Zainab has to do all of these things on her own, with her heart bleeding for her brother Hussein, and for her own children, and for her nephews. And it is said that it is in this state that Lady Zainab and the rest of the caravan is taken in the different lands, and they are displayed in front of all of these Muslims that proclaimed and claimed that they were followers of Rasulullah. But this was not the only punishment. This was not the only pain. It is said that now they are held in chains, and they are held in iron collars around their necks and around their hands, and they are beaten, and the heads of their brothers and their sons are carried in front of them. First, they are taken to the land of Kufa, and then they are taken to the land of Sham. I mentioned last night that Imam Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, he prepares Zainab for this long journey. And it is said that Imam Zainul Abidin himself was as well preparing for this journey. But when Imam Zainul Abidin once upon a time is asked, what was the most difficult moment in your journey? He does not say the events of Karbala. He does not even say the events of Kufa. He says, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. Because we would accept the shahadat and the martyrdom of our brothers and our fathers and our sons, and we would hold our head up high. But we did not deserve the disrespect that we saw in the land of Sham. in the land of Kufa. The people of Kufa knew who the Ahlul Bayt were. And so it is said that when they heard that these are the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet, they would bring their clothes and they would bring food for the caravan of Imam Al Hussein. And they would bring coverings for the women. I don't know how to interpret these ahadith, that the women did not have enough coverings over themselves. And so the people of Kufa now have to bring garments from their own homes to now cover the women folk of the caravan. But then a moment comes in Sham. It is said that Lady Kulthum, as the caravan is going towards the gates of that vile city, it is said that Lady Kulthum, she calls one of those enemy soldiers, and she says that, do not take us in the main gates of this city. I just have these few requests. Do not take us from the main gates of this city, because, and maybe she heard the preparations that that city was making to accept them and welcome them amongst them. All of the music and all of the taunts that they had prepared. She makes a second request, that take these heads farther up, so that these people do not stare at us and do not look at the state in which the children find themselves in. And it is said that that enemy soldier and that enemy commander not only did not accept her request, but he did the exact opposite. They were taken from the main gates of that city, and the heads were placed within the caravan, so that whenever they would look up, the people of that city, they would see the heads of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein and of Qasim and of Aoun and Muhammad. And whenever they would look down, they would see the haram of Imam al-Hussein and Zainab and Kulthum and Ruqayya and Sukaina. And it is said in some ahadith, they interpret these words of Imam Zainul Abidin when he says, the most difficult part of my journey was Sham. Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. In some reports, it is said that Imam Zainul Abidin responds that the reason why Sham was so difficult and that stop in our journey was so heart-rending for us, because they would take us into the streets. And these people of that city, they would throw whatever rubbish and whatever water and whatever fire they had in their homes upon our heads. And we had nothing to protect us with. And our hands were shackled so that we could not even clear our own heads. And they would take us into the streets. And they would say to the people of those streets that these are the enemies of your own fathers and your grandfathers. Come and now take revenge for what they did to your forefathers and to your ancestors, the enemies of Islam. And they would parade us and they would take us to the slave quarters. And they would, almost as though they were trying to sell us as the slaves of the enemies and of the kuffar. But there is one moment in this journey and in this story that Imam Zainul Abidin and Lady Zainab and Ruqayya, they are brought into the presence of Yazid. And the head of the father of Imam Zainul Abidin, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, is placed on a platter in front of his enemy Yazid. This was not the first time that Imam al-Hussein's head is disrespected and dishonored in this way. It is said that the same events occurred in the court of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. But this moment in the story is so heart-rending for the Ahlul Bayt when they see the head of their father Hussein being placed in that platter in front of Yazid. And then Yazid begins to strike the face of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He begins to strike the lips of Imam al-Hussein and the teeth of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, one of the companions of the Prophet of Islam. He stands up and he says, "O Yazid, I bear witness to Allah that I saw these lips and these teeth of Hussein that you strike now. I saw these lips and these teeth being kissed by the Prophet of Islam." And maybe he mentions, "I saw this neck that is now cut and is dripping with blood. I saw this neck being kissed by the Prophet of Islam." What have you done to the grandson and the memory of the Prophet of Islam? وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ مَاتَ الْحُسَيْنُ.
Hussein. 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 Please make rows, inshallah. Yeah, we will need some. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. This is the new Noha with the context of Arabeen, inshallah. And it's mimicked on a Farsi Noha, but inshallah you will follow. Calling is Al-Hussein from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah. Calling is Al-Hussein from Ard Karbala, everyone from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah. Iyyaka na'budu, Iyyaka nasta'een. On God is our tawakkul, in Him is our yaqeen. Witness the sacrifice of Nafs Mutmain, him and his holy kin, Misdaq al-Ata. Calling is Al-Hussein from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah. Sweeter than honey, uncle, ahla min al asr. O warith of Hassan, O grandson of Ali, you will tomorrow be martyred in Karbala. Calling is Al-Hussein from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah. One more time. Calling is Al-Hussein from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah. قد قامت الصلاة for Zohar Karbala. 'Tis your namaz akhir, my loyal awliya. Sajda than ruku, nurture this zameen into khak shifa. Calling is Al Hussein from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. Can we go to Najaf, to Majadbu Turab?
Said Sakina in anguish to her mother Rubab.
Oh, the light of my eyes, Mawla sends his salam on you Kufa to Sham. This is our ibtila. Calling is Al Hussein from Ard Karbala. Everyone, hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. Witness the head recite Al-Kahf wal-Raqim,
Prophesying the future, a mu'jiza azim.
Some centuries ahead, you'll see the Fath Din at every Arabeen in the Shtanawa. Calling is Al Hussein from Ard Karbala. Everyone,
Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
calling is Al
Hussein from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
Enjoy in every good, discourage every wrong.
With the khulq and the wisdom of the Holy Quran.
This is the noble path of Ibn Fatima, Lion of Murtada, Warith of Anbiya. Calling is Al Hussein from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah,
Hayya ala falah.
He is the one who knows Allah is Al-Alim.
He is the best of planners. Allah is Al-Hakim.
To him is our return, his worship our peak. He is the one we seek, this Laylatul Bala. Calling is Al Hussein from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. Everyone, one last time. Calling is Al Hussein from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. All together.
We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. From the day that we were born till the day that we will die, we will not forget your ultimate sacrifice. In your name the tears will stream from our eyes. Your name forever will be heard from the sky. This is our promise to you, Fatima. Oh Fatima, we will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. In the land of Karbala, you were standing all alone, with the family around and so far away from home. No one was by Hussein, but today we have shown till the day that we will die. To your shrine we will crawl. This is our promise to you, Fatima. Oh Fatima, we will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. Our master was alone, thirsty in Karbala, as he put his head down for his final sajda. From the skies a voice came, Nafsi Mutmainna, we will cry forever upon this, O Zahra. This is our promise to you, Fatima. Oh Fatima, we will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. There will come a day when we will have to make a stand. When Mahdi reappears, we will build the Holy Land. We will pay attention to his every command. We will be by Hussein, mu'mineen, hand in hand. This is our promise to you, Fatima. Oh Fatima, we will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. Throughout history, there has been no warrior that compares to Abbas, the son of Haydar. Loyalty and courage mean to him forever. Gave his life for the love of his brother. This is our promise to you, Fatima. Oh Fatima, we will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein. We will not forget Karbala. We will not forget you, Hussein.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. May Allah accept your azah and your mourning for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Let us turn towards the Qibla and prepare ourselves for ziyarat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma anta as-salam wa minka as-salam wa laka as-salam wa ilayka ya'udu as-salam. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على الأئمة الهادين المهديين. السلام على جميع أنبياء الله ورسله وملائكته.
السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام على علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام على فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام على الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. السلام على الحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره وشيعته والمستشهدين بين يديه. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوا على محمد.